Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome to another episode of the TBScouts Talking Head Show. I'm your host Boris,
Eric Talley.
and bringing you guys another fun-filled episode. We have a special guest on the line. One of our special guests for today, Tally. I'll go ahead and let you introduce our guest for
I
today.
appreciate it. Coming all the way from Hitchcock High School, the boys and girls cross country coach and basketball coach, Christopher Jordan Foster. Welcome aboard, Coach.
How you doing?
All right. So real quick, we always start off with the bio. Introduce yourself, let the audience know who you are. So go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself.
A little bit about myself. I'm Coach Jordan Foster. Man, I'm a hometown kid from Hitchcock, actually. I graduated from there in '01. Um, this is going on my ninth year as head coach. Some people think that I just got there, but I've been there for a while. Became the head coach pretty quickly. For 2 years, I was a head assistant. And surprisingly, our head coach actually became the assistant principal and then moved on to be a head principal somewhere. So it happened much faster than I thought. I thought it would take about 5 years for me to kind of become a head coach and at least get a chance to learn under a good head coach. But man, he left and he was like, man, I want you to go ahead and take over the program. So it happened pretty quick for me, pretty quick. It's been pretty fun. I like doing cross country too. I ran cross country in high school, so I got a kind of a chance to get a little bit of good with both, with having cross country and my basketball guys run cross country. I'm pretty sure, like most other basketball coaches, they have some kind of hand in cross country. So, man, that's it. Hometown kid. That's what I am. So.
Well, real quick on that note, because I think you're one of the first guests that's actually an alum of their school. Can you talk about that a little bit? Kind of give us a little, like, what made you stay there versus trying to go to the bigger city of, going to Houston or somewhere else? Like, give us some feedback on that.
Man, when I originally started, didn't think I would be teaching. I knew I would be coaching in some kind of capacity, but wasn't sure where. Came back home and started doing some substitute stuff. I actually was a personal banker for about a year, and I'm like, man, this ain't it. I was still doing personal training on the side, and it was kind of a thing where I'm gonna have to make a choice. Am I gonna keep doing personal training? Trained a few pros from overseas, got a chance to get in and train a few lower level NBA guys here or there, and of course a lot of high school kids. And I said, man, I got to make a decision. Do I want to coach or do I want to try to pursue this training thing? So once I kind of got in the coaching part of it, somebody was like, hey, have I go to Hitchcock because I would go to open gym and play with those guys. And the head coach was like, man, what you think about trying to coach? I'm like, I don't know, because the teaching aspect of it, and man, I kind of got into it, and I'm like, yeah, this is it. This is it. And I wanted to help him out because he didn't have a head assistant. It was just kind of him doing a lot of stuff, and he had a coach under him, but it was mainly a football guy. So I'm like, man, if I come, I'm doing basketball. That's what I do. And I say, I'll even help you with cross country because I ran that. So me and him were kind of tied to the hip, and it was great. He let me do some things and let me kind of have control over the off-season program and preseason. And that's when I knew then, I'm like, yeah, this is it. And it made it feel better because I'm at home. And like I tell people, especially after this year, I say, man, I don't care what you say. It kind of feels a little different when you a hometown guy and you got the community behind you, and they used to watch you do the same thing when you were in high school. So it's been a pleasure in that aspect of it, of being a hometown kid and coming back home and being able to do that.
Real quick, just for those that may not be that familiar with your school, um, where is Hitchcock? What division is it? And just tell us a little bit like basic information about Hitchcock.
Hitchcock is a small town. We are right outside of Galveston. We're closer to Galveston than Houston, actually. And we're about, I would say about 10 minutes outside of Galveston, and we're about 25 minutes, 30 minutes outside of Houston. Small town, like I said, once again, you can drive through it pretty quick. We are a 3A school. When the classifications moved up to 6A, we went from 2A to 3A, but we were 2A when it was just 5A classification. small school. We got one middle school, one elementary, a primary, a Head Start. But like I talked to Eric earlier, and a lot of people think that we have like 3 middle schools. I'm like, no, it's just one. So again, it's pretty much the same how it was when I was in high school. Now the facilities have improved. We have some great facilities. I will admit that our facilities are nice for a smaller school. I think, see, our last graduating class, our senior class, the graduating class, the senior class that we had this past year was about 85 or 90, I think. Our graduating classes are usually under 100. I think moving forward, I think we got a kind of a big class this year. I have to check our numbers, but we're usually kind of in between like a medium size to maybe a large 3A. I know there's some 3As that are bigger than us, but we're usually kind of on the fence with being a Division I, a Division II, 3A school as far as football goes. But yeah, it's a small town, but we're not far from a lot of stuff. League City area, Clear Lake, all that stuff is not far from us.
Well, just let it be known real quick as we run into this interview. 2 reasons I wanted to make sure I got you on. First, a shout out to my guy Jim Hicks over there in Houston. He's the first guy who told me about you guys in reference to, we always have that preseason talk of how well this school's going to do. And I was like, hey, that 3A, I'm that cold guy. So that 3A, who's going to give us a run? And he told me about you guys. He said, hey, I'm telling you right now, watch out for this high school, Hitchcock High School. Those guys are young and they're hungry. So just keep an eye on them. And from what he was explaining to me, some of those guys was in the middle school grades, actually competed in a few of his tournaments and won. So he's been having an eye out on you guys. And then, of course, the second reason was the fact that you met Cole last year in the actual state tournament. And like we talked earlier, you really gave them a run. You did a really, really good job. Again, they gave you the storm in the first half. And then like we talked about, that third quarter, you made a great run, and you really made basketball show that there's runs in basketball. So you can never be too far down, and you did a great job at that. And again, everybody know Cole was a juggernaut, so it just is what it is. And so with that, all that being said about how, one of the reasons I wanted to get you on the show, how were you able to get to the success? What led up to last year? Just give us a little background, pull back the curtain for us.
Honestly, what led to last year, because I had that group of kids, especially the older guys, man, they had been, I'd had those guys for a while, especially the non-football guys. We went through a lot of ups and downs. They played a lot of fall ball. They played a lot of summer ball. We got into pretty much everything that I can get them in. I got them there. I said, man, taking kids to and from, making sure they got rides. I'm like, dude, y'all, it was a lot with that group of seniors, because I had 6 seniors this year, and 4 of them were non-football guys, and they were my gym rats. Those guys, and when I tell people, when I say gym rats, those guys were gym rats. And that's really, I saw it from the year before when we played. I said, man, everybody's like, y'all got a chance to get to the state tournament, and I'm like, well, hold up. Let's get to a regional tournament first. It's levels, it's goals. And I think I set that up the year before when we lost to New Waverly, who was a real good team. And I told Coach Williams, and me and him talk a lot at New Waverly, about this group that had been starters since freshmen. And we kind of had to throw them in the fire, and they had to learn. And it was a lot with them. They've seen a lot. They played a lot of games. So again, this senior group was a different group. They have a lot of experience. Man, we just had some Bulldogs with that senior group this year, and then meshing them with that freshman group that everybody was talking about. That middle school group, that 7th and 8th grade that went and won. They didn't lose a game. Didn't lose a game in football. Didn't lose a game in basketball. That was everybody kept talking about, well, when they come up, they're going to be starters. They're going to start. So we were able to let those guys mature. Not all of them moved up to varsity like everybody thought. And I told them that as 8th graders, hey, when y'all get to high school, it's going to be different. Some of y'all are going to play up. Some of y'all are going to play down. Some of y'all might not ever play basketball again, because there were some football guys in that group too, which is understandable. And then I was able to move them up to JV. They played well on JV. And I had a week in December where we didn't have a game, and I call it Hell Week, kind of where we make our moves as far as who's going to play where, who's going to be moved up, who's going to, if we got to demote somebody, we might have to. But, we do that in that first week of December when we didn't have games. And you best believe, being in a small community, I had people, they got to be starting. Why don't you start the freshmen? So they were able to move up during December that first week. And the two that moved up, man, it was just up from there. Those guys meshed in well with the other guys that we already had. And man, it started rolling in December, and I could kind of see it. They weren't starting yet, but I was telling my assistant coaches, like, guys, we kind of see the writing on the wall. And it ended up happening at the end of December when we went to the Franklin tournament. Those guys ended up starting in that tournament, and it was up from there. And we had a senior that had been a 3-year starter that actually was coming off the bench, and he came to me and was like, Coach, I like coming off the bench better. And I said, man, I'm glad, him being mature, and we were able to have a conversation, and he actually played better coming off the bench. He loved coming off the bench, and it just took pressure off of him. And once that happened, we got rolling. I kind of knew then. I said, we're going to get to the regional tournament, but it's going to be tough at regionals. We're going to have to hit the reset button, and we'll go from there. So that's kind of how that happened.
Yeah, because I was looking at your record overall. You have success in the playoffs or going to the playoffs. I think I went back as far as 17, 18, and you've been to the playoffs every year. Now, of course, every year, one year gets better than the other. So, but the success was there. So seeing what you were doing and seeing you are that caliber coach that knows what to do and knows how to get there and play those games. So, again, because in 17, 18, you went all the way to the third round of the playoffs.
And that was, man, that group, those guys come up to open gym sometimes, and I get calls from them, and it's always pleasurable, getting calls. We're trying to make deep runs in the playoffs. I like to have preseason success, but that's not our thing. We're going to always try to schedule some tough preseason games. I'm kind of like, I see Coach Mobley's schedule, and I know they schedule some tough teams over at Madison. I'm kind of the same way with that. I don't mind playing 6-8 teams because we know we're trying to build for the playoffs, and that's just been my thing. We want to schedule games that are going to push us and make us be tough when we get to the playoffs and make a deep run, and especially at the regional tournament in Region 3. Nothing's going to be easy in Region 3 at all.
Well, real quick, before we start talking about your schedule, I noticed and I saw that you had 4 seniors that graduated. So we'll be looking at as far as what's some names we need to watch for the upcoming schedule and season.
We graduated. I lost 6 seniors, but 4 of them were just straight basketball guys. The other 2 were football. The starting quarterback was my best player this year. He was my best athlete. He actually led the team in scoring. And then I had a sophomore that was second right behind him. But man, believe it or not, most people think that those guys are like, oh, those guys average 19, 20. I'm like, not on this team. It's just how it was so spread out, and we were so deep this year. Man, the high point guy was at 14-1, and then the sophomore was at 13-3. But it was just spread out, and that's how I like my teams. I'm not coming back. 3 starters, and those starters, Damian McDaniel, who is a starting receiver and a defensive back. He's going to be my leader this year. He's been a starter since a freshman, pretty much. He was a district MVP his freshman year. He was district MVP last year. I got Lloyd Jones III. He's going to be my power forward guy. He's the starting quarterback this year also. He's going to lead the team in rebounding, I'm sure. I've never seen a kid rebound. And I've been here for going on year number 11 total. But he's going to be my best rebounder I've probably ever had. Elijah Sherwood is the other guy that was a freshman that was starting. He'll be a sophomore also with Lloyd. He's going to be a pretty big part in the offense this year, and we'll get a chance to get him on the wing a lot more. In those other 2 spots, I got Jaden Rivera, he's going to be a senior. He'll be my only senior starter, I'm pretty sure. And he's a good inside-outside guy. So we'll be ready to rock and roll, I think. It's depending on how long football goes. I think they're going to be they got a good chance to make a deep run in the playoffs. So I'll probably be shorthanded early on in the season, and we'll just have to move some guys up, and man, we'll go from there. But that's good for them. They'll get some experience and see how it is at a varsity level.
So we were talking about schedule right before that. I asked you about the players. So I see right here on your schedule that you're going to definitely be in the Whataburger Invitational. What else on your schedule that really stands out that you know you're going to be getting some tough competition? Preseason.
Over at Clear Falls, Coach Shelton, they're going to have a pretty good team. They have a real good point guard over there, and he usually has a good guard group. So I always want my guards to see, see good guards, because I believe in this within 3A, especially in 3. I always tell my guys every year, with me being a former point guard and a shooting guard, I'm like, guys, I gotta have the best guards in Region 3. Like y'all gotta hold it down from the guards. And against my post guys, and I pride myself on having great defensive guards. Everybody has to be a pit bull from the guard spot, because I know that helps us in Region 3. But also the Central Heights tournament, that was real good for us this past year. That was our first time going. It was an overnight tournament that we went to. So he's going to have some real good teams there. And it's always good to kind of go overnight to get some good competition. And then I think I got Clear Creek on there. We had a real good game with them last year. And, of course, we're going to play our county games with the Texas City, Ball High, Lamar. Those are all Galveston County teams that, man, those are hostile. I call it a hostile environment, because it's, everybody wants to have bragging rights. And
Right.
tease my guys. I say, when I go into HEB, I don't want to talk to somebody and be like, damn, coach, they got y'all this year, So, we got a pretty, I try to schedule it tough. It's just hard. And people always ask, well, why don't I try to put a 3A team on there to kind of help us out? But, man, it's just traveling far to play a top 3A team. It's I'd rather do that in the tournament than
Right.
have one game like that. So, I've always prided myself on scheduling a tough schedule, even if I know we got a group that, I don't know, it's kind of like, damn, can they handle that? But I say, man, we're gonna have to handle it. We got to get put in that environment so that can get us ready for Region 3 playoff atmosphere, where it's physical. We're gonna see the best athletes in Region 3, because it's a football region per se. But, man, I'm trying to be the first team out of Region 3 to win a state tournament. Like we gotta win. We got to do it. It's been, I think, maybe 12 years since the Region 3 team has done it. White Oak from the 2A level. And, people are like, hey, you really look back on it? I'm like, yes, I do my research on a lot of stuff. So, we're trying to be the Region 3 team to try to get it done.
Okay. So on your district games, who's that game right now? You already saw, because I did see on Max Prep, it's already listed as far as some of your district games, or most of them, I believe. Who's on that? Like, you really like mark the calendar, like, okay, hey, I know this is a tough one, regardless of win, lose, or draw. I know it's a tough one. We're going to do our best, 'cause I believe you went undefeated last year in district. So who in your district you looking for?
With our district, it's been a little down lately. East Bernard is usually the team that I like to go to and play, especially there, because the environment, again, it's like a playoff atmosphere type game. They always have big physical kids, and they like to play run a lot of half court sets, and you got to be disciplined on defense against them. And I think that East Bernard was the team
Right.
that I like to go to, and just because they're gonna have bigger kids. They're a football school, but they have big physical kids that run a lot of half court sets, set great screens. Always gonna play within themselves and be disciplined. And I think for us, it's good to see a disciplined team like that on offense, because that's what we're gonna run into that when you get to a regional tournament, when you get to the state tournament, as we saw with Cole. Those guys are disciplined. If you make a mistake, they're going to exploit it. They're going to knock in shots, and they're going to look at the third and fourth options. It's not going to be just the first option and that's it. It's going to be levels to that, especially with a team that's straight basketball guys. So it kind of helps us get prepared for that. And I like the physical game that gets us prepared for Region 3 playoff atmosphere. They let you kind of get.
So you mentioned, the dual sports. As far as I know, a lot of schools do the football and the basketball, and then cross country, like you said, you operate. So how many kids, as far as in your basketball program, do you kind of encourage? Are you one of the coaches that encourage the football and multiple sports, or you just like, hey, if you play basketball, you just leave it alone, or do you really encourage them to do multiple sports?
I think it's always good to encourage them to do multiple sports, especially coming from the 3A level. We got to have kids that do multiple things. I told them if you're going to be straight basketball, then you need to be doing cross country and track. If you're going to be football, and I'm okay with sharing those guys, because like right now I have 8 guys that are going to be varsity that play varsity football also, and they're key players in football too. So, man, I don't mind that. That's just how it goes. Now I'll have some kids that do want to do straight basketball, and then they're kind of like, well, do we have to run cross country? And I can't make you, but I'm like, hey, I try to give them the blueprint. Like other schools, this is what they do. It's kind of a known thing. So again, when I saw Coach Mobley's interview and he said his guys run cross country, I told my guys, I said, now if they're doing it, why are you not going to do it? We were at a cross country meet Friday in Galveston. Beaumont United's whole basketball team was at the cross country meet. I told my guys, I said, that's an All-American basketball player. Wesley Yates is right there. He's running, so I think if they can, they're back-to-back state champs. We trying to get to what they got. So, I always encourage that. I would never tell no guy to not do a sport, especially at 3A level.
I got a question. So, with the players running cross country and doing track, is that just mainly for conditioning, or just to keep them active? Like, what's the purpose, I guess, of running, cross country and track in the off season of basketball?
For me, it's conditioning. That's pretty much what it is for me. I kind of use it as a conditioning tool. The type of defense that we run with the full court man, kind of high, the pace is pretty high. You got to be conditioned. Like I tell them, you got to be conditioned to play for me. If you're a kind of a walk it up guy, it's gonna be tough. So you got to get in shape for me, and that's the number one thing that I tell them. If I'm gonna send a basketball player off somewhere, or we're gonna, they got a good chance to go to college and play that sport, you're not gonna go there out of shape. That's the worst thing you can do as a basketball guy is being out of shape. So it's a conditioning thing for me. And we happen to be. Last year I had 2 guys that actually made it to regionals in cross country. One of them was a starter, so it was real good to get those guys to regionals. And they compete. They finished in the top 50 at regionals actually too. So I'm like, man, that was a pretty big deal for them to do that, and that actually kind of catapulted them into the basketball season too, because they kind of had a mental toughness on just getting through some things when it's tough. You got to push through that. So I think it helps with conditioning.
Again, on the topic of conditioning, I'm going to exclude some of your football players from this, I guess, thought or conversation. But what can you talk about conditioning? Like, how important is a player's body to be in shape? I know that sometimes you can look at the basketball court and you can physically see some players that are in better shape than others. And again, I say I want to exclude the football players because football players have a little bit more weight on them. But what's your opinion as a coach if you look at a team and you see a player that's out of shape? What can you say to the players to motivate them to keep their bodies in shape? I mean, they say don't judge a book by its cover, but sometimes when it comes to sports, you kind of do judge a book by its cover. So what is that? How can that help them maybe with their recruiting, performance, and just all of that?
Again, like I said before, I tell the basketball guys, and I try to give them an example when I went to school. We did a lot of, like I said, when I went to college, it was a big deal. We did a lot of conditioning, 3-4 hour practices in college at practice, and you're constantly moving. It's a movement thing. There's no standing around. There's no relaxing and kind of chilling, So like I tell those basketball guys, man, you gotta, our number one thing is getting those guys in shape, and getting them to understand your body as a basketball player. You're not going to be Incredible Hulk. We don't want Incredible Hulk out there. You're probably going to be a little more lean. Now you need to be able to be physically ready to withstand a full basketball season. And I think that's where I get my guys with training in weight training because we don't have a strength and conditioning coach. I had to do that on my own. I tell those guys, we got to get you ready to where you can, at the end of the season, you're going to be stronger as you go along. So that helps as far as conditioning, weight training that we do. We do a lot of, resistance training, high rep things that get your conditioning up to where when the fourth quarter comes, you're still strong and fresh. We don't want you to be out of shape in the fourth quarter, tired.
All right, Coach, just some general questions or, just talk right now. We just filling space right now. So, hey, if you had with your 9 years of coaching there at Hitchcock, I know you said 11 years in the game as far as being over there also, what would you recommend? Because I love how you said you started off, you're from Hitchcock and so what you starting there and just being there for as long as you've been there, because that's quite a while. Usually most guys have the success you've had trying to go find something else, but you stayed there. How would you encourage or how would you lead a younger coach to kind of not follow your steps for the most part, but just kind of show them a blueprint like, hey man, this is how I've done it, because again, like I told you, the success you have is there. It's in the record. So you're not doing anything wrong. You're doing everything like you're supposed to. You got a good group of kids coming up. You got a good pipeline also from your middle school. So what words of encouragement would you give a younger coach just getting on the scene?
Man, just to be a student of the game, to be obsessed with it. Anytime you can, try to talk to coaches, go watch coaches speak, try to go watch games. If that's the type of style that you want to play, you need to go study that style of basketball. I've been fortunate enough to, again, I go scout and go watch a lot of teams play. My assistant coaches kind of laugh at me because they like, you're going to go drive 2.5 hours, go scout that team. Why don't you just try to get the film? And I'm like, nah, I got to be there. I got to see it. I got to hear it, watch people's body language, stuff like that. And, I'm just obsessed with it, with basketball. I love doing that type of stuff. So, especially a younger guy, I just see as many people as you can speak, get you a mentor, and just pick their brain. I like watching a lot of guys play. I like watching Summer Creek, Beaumont United, Port Arthur Memorial, some teams that kind of do some similar things like we do as far as defensively with man pressure. Silsby, those guys, man, just go talk to them. Watch their games, go watch them play and try to pick up some things from them. Because, in the coaching profession, I think we all kind of pick a little bit from everybody and we kind of curtail it to how we want it. But, we're in East Texas and I like to go watch East Texas brand of basketball. It's high level, high pace, defensive mentality, full court, man. We're going to make it uncomfortable. And that's what I did.
So that leads me to my next question. As far as trying to, have relationships, how would you help that coach also to build those relationships with those surrounding colleges, which I know you've done a great job at out there? Again, good friend. Shout out again to Jim Hicks. What would you tell them or encourage them to do to make sure those relationships are built there to also get that shine and get that light on their kids? Because again, it's a trifecta. There's them playing high school basketball, them playing AAU, and then them making their own connections. But how would you encourage that young coach to build those relationships?
You said, how would I encourage a young coach to build relationships? And it kind of went in and out.
With the colleges in the surrounding area. Because again, you said you're closer to Galveston, but 30 minutes away from Houston. So I know you have those relationships with Houston's because, again, shout out to my good friend Jim Hicks. So I know you're out there working. So what would you encourage that young coach to do?
As far as the colleges go, so try to go to some college practices. I had a chance to go watch U of H a couple times practice. The head coach from Dickinson invited me to go with him, and I went with him one season to go watch U of H practice a few times. And my college coach, my assistant coach in college, is the head coach at Sam Houston. So I talk to him quite a bit. I go up there and I keep up with them. Had an opportunity to take some kids to go watch Sam Houston practice to show them this is what a college practice looks like. And they were kind of, wide-eyed like, man, coach, how did they remember all that stuff? I say, I told you, you have to, you got to be a student of the game in this thing. You got to know your sets. You got to know what you're doing. And, it's not easy, but it can be done. So, yeah.
I got a question. Just you mentioned that you have friends, that you grew up with, were in the same class, and now they're head coaches, at some colleges and stuff like that. What advice would you give to current high school players, let's say juniors and seniors that are trying to get recruited? Like, what advice would you give to them to get their names out there to some coaches? And I know it's not rocket science. Like I always tell people, recruiting is not rocket science. But what advice would you give to high school players that are trying to make some connections with those college coaches and make that initial introduction?
The first thing I tell them is, first off, just be honest with everything. Be open and honest, and be prepared to maybe hear something that you don't want to hear, because not every college coach is gonna want you, and that's okay. Every college is not for everybody, but as far as the juniors and seniors, I say, man, you got to have a high motor. I said, you got to have a high motor. To me, as the coach, that's the first thing I look at in a player. I mean, how are they as far as, do they play hard? Are they competing every time? Are you a good teammate? Those are key factors in being more open in the recruiting process. Like I tell my kids, with game film and all that stuff, we're going to help y'all out, do whatever we have to do. But I tell them from a college coach aspect, and you got to how you go off the page. And I tell them, take scoring out of it. I want you to take scoring out of it. What else can you do besides score? What is your role? Can you play within a role? That's something I tell my kids. The start of this season, we had the start last season. I really stressed to them, what can you do besides score? Because a lot of kids want to score, especially being young. You're going to want to come in and be a scorer, but you're not going to come in college and just be the number one scorer. That's just not going to happen. So, man, you got to have a high motor. You gotta do what is something that you can do to jump off the page and catch that college coach's eye besides just score. You got to be able to do something else. So I try to encourage that with a lot of kids. I think I had two kids that are trying to walk on at Jarvis Christian, and I FaceTime them throughout the week, and they're like, Coach, man, we do so much running. Wow, we do so much conditioning. So, it's funny talking to them. I'm gonna have them come talk to the team this year about walking on, about the steps. What are some pros and cons of walking on? I just want to hear from a different light, and I'm gonna let them kind of tell their little story about trying to walk on a college team. But yeah, that's what I got as far as trying to get that attention of college coaches. You got to be a competitor and have a high motor.
Yeah, I always tell people, like, the number one rule of recruitment is you got to be good at basketball. So that's like the most important thing, is you got to be good. Then we talk about everything else. But yeah, like you said, the motor is very important. For those that don't know what that means, having that motor just means actually playing like you want to be there, not dragging your feet and playing at 50% energy, but going after every ball, having that, mama mentality and just going after it. So I hear that a lot, that having a high motor. So thanks for those tips.
All right, Coach. At the end of our interview, tell us anything that you want to tell us about Hitchcock, what we need to look for, just tell us something about it that we missed.
Man, I don't know if we really missed anything. Just, man, we're going to be ready to rock and roll. I'm looking forward to this season. The kids are looking forward to this season. The community is looking forward to this season. I've already had guys in our ear. I don't want to be a Nick Saban guy, but they, like he said, giving us poison. Telling, oh, y'all guys gonna get back there. And I tell them, I say, man, nothing is guaranteed. It's Region 3. It's tough. Region 3 is real tough. So knock on wood. Hopefully nobody gets injured. I hope we have an injury-free. Injury-free season for the football guys, and we'll be ready to get after it. We'll be ready to go. We got to defend it. It's going to be tough. It's going to be real tough. It's going to be hard. So, we'll see. We got the Bulls on our back now, and everybody knows who we are.
Well, it's two things, Coach. Everyone loves winners, and you got some fans down here going to be looking out for you. So I'm going to be looking for you guys to do what you can do. And, again, if I ever get a chance to come out that way, I'm definitely going to check one of y'all games out. And I'll let you know. I'll connect with you prior to me coming out that way. But I do want to see you guys live. I really do. So I'm gonna find a way to put you on my schedule to come out there and check you out. So I want to, definitely, see you, Dallas Madison, live outside of Cole, because I got to go all my Cole home games. I'm letting you know that now. So I got to make all those. So when we playing somebody in district or in our district that I feel like I might not need to probably be there, definitely gonna try to check on you guys, because my ride to you was a lot shorter than my ride out there to Dallas. So
you might catch me out there. I might surprise you to be on the sideline during a little fall ball tournament or something like that.
Hey man, I'm looking at your schedule. I'm hoping to see you guys at the Whataburger Invitational, honestly, because I think Cantu is Coach Cantu, is lined up to be there again. So with that being said, I definitely can sit down, I'll eat my popcorn. Hopefully, y'all games aren't at the same time, but if the games are kind of staggered, I'll be out there to check you guys out and just sit and chop it up with you. But again, you got some new fans, so hey man, we looking forward to the season.
Okay, I'm pretty sure I'll be in San Antonio for something before the season starts. So Wayne's Wings, I know you probably went there before, but that's my little favorite spot to eat at in San Antonio.
We'll definitely have to go there then. All right. Mm-hmm. All right, Coach. Again, thank you, and again, thank you for giving us this time, because I know it's football, the start of football. So again, thank you for giving us this time, and hey man, we really look forward to seeing you. Thank you again.
Wait, and I'm not a football coach, by the way, just in case some people didn't know. I am fortunate enough to not have to do football at the 3A level.
No, we get it. Thank you again, Coach. All right,
y'all be
off.
Okay.